Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's session of the Bet on Black pitch. During this time, we as NK Project members get to hear from a founder who has an active equity crowdfunding campaign. I'm going to show you the campaign of this evening. I'm going to show you the page where you are able to see all of the information. We have Talisha here who is going to be placing the link in the chat as we go. And then we have our two founders here, Steve and Deshawn. They are going to discuss their project with us. You are able to ask questions with regards to the future of their business. Any questions you have as a potential investor, we are asking that you put the questions in the Q&A to be guaranteed that we actually read the question. If you put it in the chat, we may or may not see it. So please put your question in the Q&A, and then we will not leave until all of the questions are asked and answered. So the first thing is, this is a company, it's a POCStock. This is the WeFunder page, but again, Talisha is going to put our custom link in to the chat. So we're asking that you use that so that way we are able to let our founders know how many people actually use that custom link so that they can know how many people came from the 10K project to view their campaign page. But this is the page here. You're able to read information here with regards to what the business is. They have an opening video. On the right-hand side, you can see how much money they have raised thus far. The minimum investment is $100. You're able to see their pre-money valuation, and they also have some investor perks as well. So if you want to take a look at that, you are able to do so. You're also able to go through this page here. We encourage you to read all of the information with regards to them, their market opportunity, their team, all of the information in here. We do encourage you to read through all of this. They also have information with regards to details with their financials. They have updates in here. They have what people say, and this is important as well, asking a question. So the way that the SEC works is that if you email Deshawn or Steve a question, that is frowned upon by the SEC. They, in fact, may not be able to answer your question if you email them or contact them through social media. So what is done is on every page within a founder's campaign, there will be an ask a question section. So if you forget your question for this evening, come here to the campaign page and ask your question right in here. And either Steve or Deshawn or one of the team members from this company will respond. That is the best way for you to communicate with them if you are outside of tonight's discussion and you have a question for them. So with that, I am going to stop my share here and I am going to turn it over to Steve and Deshawn. Welcome, gentlemen.
Excuse me. Thank you for having us. I'm just getting over a little bit of COVID cough, so excuse me if I cough once or twice throughout this conversation. I do have a deck prepared to share with you all just to make sure that you get a full understanding of, POCStock, who we are and what we do. So if you don't mind, I'm going to pull that up and then we'll get into our intros. Excuse me. All right, hopefully everyone can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Just wanted to quickly say, my name is Steve Jones. I'm the founder and CEO of POCStock. We're a global stock media platform that unapologetically focuses on people of color.
And I am Deshaun Brown, co-founder and chief relationship officer at POCStock. Um, have been a part of this exciting venture and mission from day one. I guess you can consider me a day one. And we are a business, but we're a mission-driven business. And as we are excited to share the details about the company, do want to take you back to the genesis of the company because I think it's important to ground ourselves as to why POCStock exists, and then we'll pull forward into transferring from the why to the what we do and the how we execute. So Steve is the ideator in chief in terms of POCStock. This was his brainchild. So Steve, can you share with us the origin stories of POCStock? How do we get here?
Sure. Sure. I've spent the past 20 years in marketing and advertising, building digital platforms, running marketing campaigns for Fortune 500 companies, celebrities, government entities, you name it. And about 12 years ago, I discovered that there was an issue of a lack of diverse content featuring people of color, especially in a positive light. And if you've ever built a website, if you've ever been to a website or an ATM or seen a brochure, chances are the images that you're seeing that accompany the messaging are stock photography. And there is a global shortage of good quality images that feature people of color. And after, doing that work of building campaigns for companies that needed diverse content for, 15 years, it became evident that no one is solving this problem in any meaningful way. Every major company, every Fortune 1000 company, 93% of them have a official diversity program or focus within their chain. And the top companies that are usually the go-to companies for these Fortune 1000 companies have not done a good job at creating good quality content that focuses on people of color. It's a $4 billion a year industry currently, and no one has created a robust solution that covers all aspects of diversity in any real substantive way. So when we thought about POCStock, we didn't just want to put up a platform and rush to market with a platform with 1,000 images of Black people barbecuing or taking their kids to school or any of the cliche things that have been done by other companies who've tried to solve this problem. We wanted to build something that's almost like the Viacom of diversity, something that is going to, when we fully mature, it's going to be $1 billion entity that's a legacy brand for the Black community. We tell all of our investors all the time, POCStock has to remain 51% or more Black owned for the life of the company, because we strongly believe that our community needs legacy brands. BET was sold to Viacom. There aren't that many Black owned media companies that can help tell and shape and control our stories and narratives out in the public. And we've all seen all of the negative images of us that are constantly bombarding the world as it relates to media, but there's no place you could find good quality positive images until now. And when we say,
no, Steve, so let me give you your flowers for a second. So definitely a need in the marketplace. I too have an advertising, marketing, and technology background. And when Steve approached me with the idea that was POCStock, I've always wanted to work with Steve in some really enterprise capacity because he's brilliant. But I told him, I said, my man, this is it, because I need you right now. I was working for an agency, working on several major corporations and brands. We were developing communications with a mandate to target diverse audiences, and we simply did not have the content. We did not have the client budgets to shoot or develop that content custom. So literally in a diner in New Jersey, as I'm being presented with POCStock, I said, I wish we had the solution now, because one, I need this now, but also reflecting on my career as an advertiser, but also as a Black man, just to Steve's point, always understanding that there was a gap, always understanding that myself, I was underrepresented, and my cohorts and peers who were people of color were underrepresented as well. So I was all in from day one. And I think just from a timing perspective, it feels that we're at a point where diversity is top of mind for everyone. I think we've gone beyond just investing social equity in it. Major brands and corporations are investing capital and resources into diversity. So POCStock as a solution has always been needed, but it is the right time for the solution.
Absolutely. And that's what we hear all the time. We hear the timing is right. We also hear, why didn't anybody think of this sooner? But, we took our time, just to kind of walk you through a little bit more of the evolution. We launched the platform to our contributor base in 2020, and we didn't open it up to customers until 2021. And the reason being, we wanted to build a robust enough library so that when we go to our target customers, which are primarily Fortune 500 companies and global ad agencies, we will have something that no one has ever seen before, something that is robust enough to meet their needs in terms of volume, the breadth of our library as well. So when we say people of color, we're covering all aspects of people of color, whether it's Black, Asian, Hispanic, Native Americans, Middle Eastern. We're covering intersectionalities of LGBTQIA+, disabled people with disabilities. We're covering celebrities. Believe it or not, good quality photos of people over the age of 50 are in very high demand and short supply, because that is a growing, one of the largest demographics in the US. As we have the population aging and more brands are trying to target that specific demographic, there aren't a lot of good quality content around the aging population. So we made sure we made that a focus. And if you think to yourself, when is the last time you saw a good quality photo of Native Americans in any TV commercials, in any brochures, or anything that's being advertised in mass media, right? So if you think people of color as Black people, there's a shortage. Imagine if you go down the chain, sorry, excuse me. If you go down the chain to all of the other diverse groups, they're even more underrepresented than we are. We just wanted to share a couple of images that you don't see on a regular basis that you can find in our platform. Images that tell stories that we are families, we are loving, we're caring, we swim, we hike, we ski, different types of families that are currently in the news, fighting for their rights, fighting for, the right to be seen, heard, and valued by the greater community. These folks are represented in our library, right? So we are very much focused on not just diversity, but equity and inclusive content. So we focus on inclusive design, inclusive marketing, to make sure that everyone that's a person of color has a seat at the table, and all of our stories are being told.
When we talk about this from a practical business implementation perspective, the breadth of POCStock, we say it's global, but it's almost more than that. Any company, any organization, any agency that has communications that somewhat is mindful of or prides itself or maintains itself on diversity can do business with us. So we're pretty wide net. There's 3 different categories of business that we typically engage folks with. What we've shown to you thus far is mostly the diversity stock platform. So Steve kind of went to a bit about stock content. We're building a campaign, we're communicating to a consumer audience, maybe we're communicating to our stakeholders in our community or our employees as a part of our employer brand. So we source content from creators around the globe to license to agencies, corporations, organizations, and brands. That is the foundational product of our business. we are a diverse media company, and you'll see that in a lot of our communications, because what we do and what we're capable of is bigger than just the stock content sector. There's the custom production sector. So custom production is simply if the need on the client or customer side is very specific and there is not a stock or general asset that meets the mark, we have the capability to create that content. Typically, corporations, agencies, and brands will have studios, they'll have network partners, they'll have freelancers that develop and source content from them. Because we have a stock and custom capability, we're able to have all that business come through stock, through POCStock. And it really forges a unique relationship where our clients and customers don't have to source from different partners, but it also keeps the focus on diversity with one partner, which leads us to our third category, which is the diversity, equity, inclusion consulting. So in addition to just providing content, we're advertisers, we're marketers, so we understand the strategy behind communications and also working in diversity, equity, inclusion. It allows us to help shape our clients and customers' thinking. So in addition to coming for us just for content, we've got brands coming to us for, let us understand what gaps we have in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion. So to Steve's point, getting beyond just the general category of people of color or just Black people, specifically who are our audiences, where are they, how can we communicate them in a more effective way? So we've been able to provide these services, again, which forges a very sticky relationship with POCStock, where we're not seen as just a one-time set it and forget it vendor. We become their strategic partner on the diversity, equity, inclusion side, fitting within this media and content category.
Right. And just to add one point to that is that if you look in the media over the past few years, whether it's ads from some clothing companies or major retailers where they've made a mistake and how they represented people of color in public, a lot of these companies are very concerned about doing things the right way or the wrong way, or without having some guidance from a diverse voice, a set of voices. So a lot of times we get called in now to be that voice in the room, right? So that you're not rolling out a product line that turns off your customers because you didn't think that it would be offensive because you don't understand the cultures. You want to connect with those communities, but you don't really understand the nuances of each of those groups. So what we do is we make sure we bring a level of cultural intelligence to the table so that these companies can feel comfortable that we understand the communities that they're looking to connect with, and we can help lead and guide them. So since we rolled this out a year and a half ago, we've been able to achieve certain highlights that Deshaun is going to walk us through. But we're on a really steep trajectory over the next 2 years because we've taken our time to put all of the pieces in place, and now it's time to go to market.
Absolutely. These highlights represent a company that I wouldn't say has been operating in the dark, but I think we've been very intentional as to how we build this. We wanted to make sure, because we're talking about such a wide net and such scale, that we build this in a staged way that we could deliver. So with that, it was developing the platform, it was building a team, it was building a creator community, making sure we had an infrastructure to be able to support the demand coming in as we built an audience. So to that, over the course of a year and a half, we built a lifetime of 450K in sales. We did do a pre-seed round where we raised some investment dollars again to bring additional team members on to help with content acquisition, to help with technology, to help with building relationships with those Fortune 1000 companies and agencies and organizations that we spoke of. We've done a lot in terms of engaging with those folks and developing some meaningful case studies, some meaningful enterprise contracts with brands that you know, see, love, and maybe use every day, the Googles, the Samsungs, the Omnicoms, the Nestle's, the Sony Musics and Dell. These are folks that we talk to on an ongoing basis to deliver, again, stock content, custom creation of development of content, as well as consulting. We've been also building the brand, making sure that folks know who we are and what our mission is and what the machine is behind that mission in terms of our business model. So hopefully some of you may have seen myself or Steve and Adweek of Forbes or the Griot speaking on behalf of the current landscape of diversity, equity, and inclusion, speaking on behalf of media and content, but also speaking on behalf of what our business is, what our model is, and how we can effectively penetrate this pretty vast market. We have 185,000 assets to date. And we say assets, those are photos, videos, and illustrations. To give a bit of context to that number, our competitors in this marketplace in terms of companies that are focused on developing content of people of color or Black owned, I think our nearest competitor may be at the 10,000 or 15,000 mark in terms of total assets. So 185,000 assets exponentially puts us in a different stratosphere than anyone else who's specifically tried to take on this task. It's also a space in terms of volume of assets that makes us attractive to do business with the Googles, the Samsungs, and the Nestle's of the world. The smaller the category, it's not enough to fill their needs. Some of our larger competitors, Getty and Adobe, they have too many assets. It takes too much time to integrate with all that content. So we feel a nice sweet spot in between, just having enough assets that really makes us appealing, but also being able to do enterprise level business. And mention our customers, and we talked about just the breadth and scope of all that it is we can do in this marketplace. It is not just one sector. It is not just brands. It's not just corporations. It's a bevy of different corporations, brands, and agencies and organizations across the gamut. Audible, Google, Meta, Rutgers, again, education, you're saying education, consumer technology, CPG. It's a mix of everything. And what makes this business unique with other ventures that I think Steve and I have been a part of is its inclusiveness and its appetite in terms of crossover and mass appeal with so many different markets and sectors. We have not yet, over the course of 3 years, met with a potential client or customer who stated, I do not need your services. And I think you see that reflected on this slide. But also just imagine where we'll be in another 1, 2, 3 years as we continue to build our infrastructure and build our teams.
And if I can add one point, it's with all of the options out there for stock media, most companies only deal with 1, 2, 3 different stock companies at the most, right? So it's usually 1 or 2. And then POCStock is the third, or the additional agency that they deal with for specific focus on diversity. So a lot of our major clients, because of how the licensing works with other platforms, which we are able to meet their terms, a lot of the other platforms cannot play in that space. They cannot carry the level of indemnification and insurance and the vetting process for the content. Because just one point, and I know we need to move on, but just a practical point is that if you go out on the internet and you find an image and you use it, and the person in the image says, I didn't give you the rights to use that image, that's a lawsuit. Companies don't want to be sued for using content that they procure from a stock company. So we have to carry a tremendous amount of legal and compliance and meet a lot of regulations that smaller agencies can't do, and only the largest agencies in the world can do. And that's why it also puts us in the space amongst those top competitors. And we'll give you a quick overview. So we source content in 60 countries from 650 plus contributors and growing. And this allows us to be able to pull content in. So these contributors are photographers and videographers and illustrators. They create their content and they submit it to us for review. Our team curates it, meaning they check to see if the image quality is good, if it violates any trademarks, if the proper legal forms have been filled out in the form of model releases and property releases. And then if it meets all of those standards, then it gets added to our platform. We currently reject 30% of the images that are submitted to us because they don't meet our strict criteria. And when we go to our customers and say this content has been curated, it means it's been hand checked by a human being and it meets all standards, all legal standards, all quality standards, all, so people really can trust and rely on that when it comes to us. This is also the same network that we use as a selling point to our customers, because we can then go to our contributors when it's time to do custom shoots and say, well, we can do a custom shoot in Latin America, which we currently have one on the table. We can do a custom shoot in Africa. We can do a custom shoot in Canada, which we currently have on the table, right? We leverage our network in that way as well. Excuse me. Now, what excites us about stock, and it's not usually the sexiest topic in the room, but what excites us is that people, because of the cost to go out and shoot your own content, brands are relying more heavily on stock. And over the next 20 years, people of color are going to be the numerical majority of the United States. So our growing population plus the need to communicate to us in a more effective way than has been done in the past, and the growing market around stock, which is going to grow to 7 billion over the next 3 years, puts us in a unique position because, like as Deshaun said, we're at 185,000 assets. We're scaling to 1 million over the next 2 years. That's our goal. That puts us in a place where there's no one below us that can compete, and the largest companies are uniquely focused on diversity and getting it right. So if we're going to be on our own lane for the foreseeable future. We compete with mostly Getty Images. That's our #1 competitor. Getty created the market. They were the first stock image platform, 30 years. They have 415 million images and counting. They are the highest price brand, and most of the companies that we go after are already doing business with Getty. If they're not doing business with Getty, then it's either Shutterstock or Adobe, right? But Getty is everywhere. That we can't escape the footprint of Getty, right? But one of the challenges is that every customer we get on the phone with, they immediately within 10 minutes start telling us about their challenges with dealing with the larger companies in terms of finding diversity content. Our smaller competitors are only focused on Black content or Black women or something specific around, just a Black experience. And that limits, that limited focus excludes all of the other diverse groups, as well as their content libraries don't allow big enterprises to do business with them year over year, right? So once you go through the 1,000 assets that you have, what's next? There's nothing else to sell to them once they go through your library. So we made sure that we had the biggest library as a Black-owned company. Excuse me. And in terms of what we've been able to accomplish over the year, with bringing on board, in terms of our first round of funding, we were able to bring on board a couple of full-time team members to help us go and secure those large enterprise relationships that Deshaun showed earlier, and nurture those relationships and make sure that we're a well-known brand within that space, which is why we're currently raising, right? So we're now ready to go to market. We have everything in place in terms of our proprietary tech platform. We have a massive diversity library. We have our global contributor network. We have relationships with large enterprise customers. We have tested the market to make sure that there's a good market product fit. We hear every day that this is what we need. We just now are looking to scale our inside sales team and hire people who will just focus on pounding the phones and getting us in front of the rest. You know, we can show you 25, 50 logos, but there are thousands more, right? So we need to be in every major corporation, every government entity, every college, high school, anyone who communicates with people of color. We're looking to be in business with. We're looking to invest in some really compelling marketing strategies, you know, ranging from influencers to, you know, celebrities. That's one of our categories. We want to corner the market on celebrity images of color. So if you can imagine in the future, celebrities will have the option to choose whether to post their content on Instagram for free or post it on POCStock and generate revenue. So we're going to corner the market on all diversity content. And then we want to invest in automation. It's very time consuming from a human capital standpoint to vet and review thousands of images every month. And we're looking to scale into millions. So we're going to invest in AI and machine learning to start to be able to ingest more content and still maintain our quality standards. And in order to drive more value to our subscription-based model, we want to acquire and develop more exclusive content so that the content that we have on our platform can only be found on our platform. And I just want to underscore this one thing. We were able to raise $750,000 in our seed round. And what you saw in this deck was mostly the output of that, of that raise. But one thing that we are conscious of is that in that first round, we had a $10,000 minimum. And it inadvertently excluded a lot of people of color from investing. So that's why we decided to go the crowdfunding route for this round. A business that's going to be the size of POCStock over the next 3 to 5 years is going to have several rounds of funding and millions of dollars poured into it. And we wanted to make sure that we have Black investors in on the earliest stage possible, so that when we become a legacy brand, we're creating more wealth, not just for ourselves and our families, but for us. We want to build more Black millionaires through POCStock. So that's why we decided to go this route, to get more Black investors in on the opportunity. So just want to stop there and you know, thank you all. And I see some questions have popped up, so I want to make sure we have time to answer questions. But thank you.
Yes, gentlemen, great presentation. We do have several questions in here. So let's just kind of jump in and begin. So the first question is from Jessica. Jessica's asking, I know of at least 4 companies that focus on creating stock photos and videos of for people of color founded by Black founders. They include Honey Social, Diversity Photo, Nappy.co, and She Bold. How is your company different? What sets you apart from these?
Well, I would say thank you for that question. I'm not familiar with Honey Social. We are familiar with Diversity Photo and Nappy. And we are in talks with those founders because we would like to make sure that we have a healthy marketplace and other viable options out there as well, and do partnerships. But I would say how we're different is everything we just said. So we focus on a wide range of diversity topics, where those 2 particular companies focus mostly on Black content, and we represent the full range of diversity. Those companies are good companies, but their library is a fraction of what our library size is. So the size of the library in the stock game usually dictates the value of the company, the popularity of the company. The larger the library you can amass, the more options you have for people when they're searching. So I think Nappy is maybe 15,000 or so. Don't quote me on the exact number, because like us, they're adding each month. But the size and scale of POCStock and the broad range of diversity topics is usually a differentiator between us and any other Black company.
I'd briefly also say our people as well, because our people that we've onboarded are a mix of consultants and advertisers. We're able to speak to enterprise level clients, brands, organizations at a strategic level. So while to everything that Steve said, we do offer the content, we're able to speak to them and engage in enterprise level deals because we talk about communication strategy. We know how campaign development works. So it gives us the opportunity to expand deals, to cross-sell and upsell, because we understand how things work from a communication and production standpoint. We can talk strategy, and that gets us at seats at the table that I think other stock houses may not be at.
Great. So Jessica is also asking, you say your target customers are Fortune 500 companies and ad agencies. As a content creator, I see these same companies using the free stock photos that are available to everyone on Unsplash, Canva, and Pexel. How are you going to convince them to pay for what they are? How are you going to convince them to pay for what they're satisfied with getting for free?
That's a good question. But I would have to say, honestly, Jessica, that has not been our experience. Although there are always going to be companies that have, access to free platforms or discount. Our customers all use Getty, and Getty is the highest priced platform. So we always come in as a discounted price option for content that's in high value. So we haven't seen that. And so I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but we do not see that often. We've never spoke to a client who is using free services just because of the liability. The licensing terms presents such a great liability to use images that are not properly curated and indemnified. So a lot of our clients don't use those services. So I probably would have to see a real example, but we have not experienced that in 3 years.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've heard of some folks. You may have a department or two where there's maybe a social media community manager who's using assets from Canva or one of the free sites, but for the corporate, the marketing, the enterprise folks that we're working with, to Steve's point, because of the liability, because of the licensing, they're looking to go to more established licensing partners such as a Getty, Adobe, Shutterstock, and POCStock.
Are they also looking for like one-of-a-kind pictures or things that you don't see the same person like on 8 different ads?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of our content is not widely available, so you won't see a lot of it in 10, 20 different places. But it is a need for our clients to have content that you don't see everywhere. So that's why one of the things we're looking to do is develop more exclusive content in the future.
Okay.
There's a place for generic evergreen content that goes on websites, but to landing pages, to product pages, for actual campaigns, not only is there a desire for exclusive, rare to find content, but it's growing. So that line item, one of the highlights and where we want to put the funds to, it's the direct response to that it's not just a current need. We hear from creative teams all the time that it's a growing need to have their brand stand apart.
And do you currently have within your contract with your creators that they can't sell to you and sell to like 5 different other platforms, or how are you protecting and staff?
It's an option. They have the option. They have the option to submit it exclusively or non-exclusively. And we have contributors that do both. I mean, some contributors do a portion of their catalog exclusively or all of it exclusively. Some will hedge their bets and try to put it on 20 different platforms to see where it sells, right? So one of the things about POCStock is we focus a lot on investing in our contributor community, because for them, this is a revenue source. In some places in the around the world where we send checks, this is their revenue, right? So there are people's lives that we help to change and transform with the money that we send to them around the world, right? So when they get those checks, they're happy, and then they submit more content, and the ecosystem works well that way.
It's great. Question here from Eddie. Good evening, brothers. This is a great idea that, quote, if equally embraced, could prove to be a biased media crusher. Having said that, I pose this question. Will you be able to mandate the way in which POCStock offerings are utilized in media? The norm that I have noticed is the positioning of our family members in less than top-tier advertising and commercial ads. Also, typical makeup of diversity in these advertisements does not accurately reflect real-life population percentages.
I did a talk in France over the summer, and that's the same question someone asked me, and it is, I'll say this, is very, at our early stage, is very, although we're starting to gain some influence in our voice, we don't have the heft yet behind the brand in order to do that outside of one-off conversations with individual clients. But as we build our library, it's been intentional for us to curate out some of the content that would be stereotypical or negative or too kind of hokey. We do have some of that content because, believe it or not, there are people who that's what they're looking for. But we are looking to position ourselves to be able to better curate what the world sees when it comes to us, and make sure the content is accurate and well-rounded and tells the other sides of the stories that are not normally being told, while not excluding the people whose stories are currently being told, right? Everybody has a perspective of what they think authentic is based on where they're located and their background, and we want to be all inclusive. So,
and if you recall that third focus category, the DEI consulting, that's also a response to this for us to go beyond just content delivery. We would also be a part of the strategy. It has some influence to strategy and also distribution as well.
Great. Next question is from Jessica. I don't see Stocksy on your competitor list. They create beautiful diversity photos. How do you feel they compare to your company?
These are interesting questions, and Jessica, you definitely understand our market, and I love it. No, there are tons of companies who have some diverse content, but I think some of the things that we said are that we're Black owned, which puts us in a unique category to be the voice in the room. We're culturally focused 100%. We don't deal in any other groups. We deal with people of color exclusively. So I've only seen Stocksy on one or two of our customers' list of places they go. I do like Stocksy's content. I've seen it. It is there are some collections out there that are good. But Stocksy is a platform. The contributors are the ones who create the content. So if they contribute to Stocksy, they could contribute to POCStock at some point. But you're right, there are some libraries out there who are, there's no secret that there's a problem with diversity, right? So everyone is trying to solve it in their own way. We're just trying to build a sustainable solution, right? So Stocksy is not a company that's centered around culture. They're a library like all of the other libraries. We've interwoven our culture, our beliefs, our backgrounds, our mission, our vision, our values into everything we do, right? So when people hire us or come to us, they know that when they pay POCStock, a portion of the money is also going out to communities of color. When we get hired to do a video shoot or a photo shoot, the staff, the production crew are people of color behind the lens and in front of the lens. These are things we care about. and our customers care about. So the other companies, these are not things they care about, right? They care that there's the need for diversity content. And if they can procure some and sell it, that's what they're doing. It's bigger than that for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you get
So
yourselves on the approved vendor list of these Fortune 500 companies? And do you
yes,
do it as minority owned companies or a
sometimes
minority owned company? Yeah, because
some
what I'm
are
thinking for
certified.
Jessica is depending on this other company, Stocksy, I don't know who owns it, but sometimes like with companies that have like government contracts and things like that, they need a certain percentage of money going to minority business owners. So,
Exactly.
that could be something as well that they're looking at. And they'll pay a couple extra dollars for that because they're getting millions of dollars, billions of dollars in contracts.
And to that point, we are certified as a diverse vendor, and all the money that they spend with us is tracked against their diversity goals. So that
Yeah.
does help with a lot of our large enterprise customers. It's not often the way we get into the door, but
Mhm.
once we're in the door, it's how the contracts start to expand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that
we're
doesn't surprise me at all. Wayne is asking, with all this content, what is your back end / cloud storage solution?
Well, we have a few layers in our technology stack. So we use mostly Amazon AWS for all of our cloud storage. Um, because of the scale that we need in terms of content, we have terabytes of content, and we're going to be scaling over the next 3 to 5 years. So we use Heroku and Amazon AWS.
Great. Rain is asking, hello, Mr. Jones and Mr. Brown. I may have missed the slide. I saw that you have about 500,000 in sales lifetime. Can you break down your sales / growth year over year since inception?
Inception, there was zero sales until May 25th of 2020, when Mr. Floyd was murdered, and companies were coming to us to do something, right? And we weren't even open for business in terms of customers yet. So 6 months before we were slated to open up for business, customers came and they gave us 75,000 in just contracts, just because. The next year we opened for business, we did about 240 in sales, and that was last year. And this year we're on track to do about a little bit over that. So I think we're tracking at about 260 now. So a modest growth, but we've established tons of corporate relationships this year that we didn't have with Meta and Microsoft and Dentsu and a lot of big brands. We invested in the relationships this year,
Okay.
knowing that next year we're going after contracts.
Tandanico is asking, do you have any remote positions? I am in Northern California and I would like to work for your company.
We'll provide an email address to Mr. Deshaun Brown, who will be hiring aggressively in over the next 6 months. So
Yeah, it's my job to hire all these people, but we are a virtual company. We are an extremely flexible company. We're a team of astronauts who we have a mission, but we're very flexible and agile in being able to work with people around the US. We've got some team members for overseas as well. So in having a global company, it helps having a solution set and people that are located in different parts of the country. Who knows, when we have to go see Amazon in Seattle, helps to have someone in the northwest part of the country.
Yeah. Deshaun, you're a little muffled now. And you also froze as well.
Yeah.
You may have to come back. So go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to say, we launched in COVID. We launched during the pandemic. So most of our team has been remote. We currently don't have a central office where we meet. We work out of a co-working space in New Jersey where we need to meet. But everyone works from home. So we're able to attract talent from all over the country and all over the world. So,
Great. And then I wanted to ask you about your sales team, your inside sales team. When you raise this money, are they going to be full-time? Like how many salespeople are you going to have? And are they going to be full-time, part-time?
so we're looking at a combination, and this is Deshaun's area, but this is an interim raise in between this, this is almost like a Series C part 2. So there will be a subsequent raise where we're going to really invest in a larger team. But a company like to be where POCStock needs to be, we're going to need 50 to 100 people. So that's where we're scaling to over the next 2 to 3 years. In the interim, we're probably going to hire a small handful of inside sales folks to call on the Fortune 1000 companies and really aggressively go after getting us into every company you can imagine, every brand that you use. So
Right.
Yeah, hopefully, am I here? Am I back?
Yeah, you're
yeah,
back.
yes,
You're still a little low, but
I did my best to show an impression while you were away.
No, you always outshine me. So it will be a hybrid of a couple of FTEs and a couple of contractors in the sales. And to Steve's point, ultimately this does need to become a very large team, but we would like a couple of full-time FTEs so we can fully train people, adopt them into our culture. But because we're able to segment our prospect base, we would be able to use some contractors and freelancers to come in and help push sales along as well.
yeah, your microphone is still very low. So I don't know. Maybe you want to try to go out and come back in, but we only have 2 more questions. So let's see what we're able to do here.
See if we can do it.
Gerald is asking, did you guys use a Black-owned tech developer?
No, we did not. We could not. When we reached out, our CTO was Black, and he brought on the resources when we reached out to put together the team. The best available resource for the languages that we were using was not a person of color.
Okay. Anonymous is asking, what kind of employee package do you place to provide for employees? I guess, what kind of employee package do you have to provide for employees? So I don't know, Anonymous, are you asking about their benefits and things like that? Why don't we come back to Anonymous? Like, if you can re-ask that question and let me know what you mean by packet. Tammy is asking, I'm on the DE&I work stream for Abbott Laboratory and wanted to know if you have reached out to Abbott. Have you reached out to Abbott Laboratory?
Not to my knowledge. Deshaun?
Well,
No,
Tammy, if you are able to assist, I think it's Tammy Smith, right? If you would reach out, Tammy, to Deshaun and Steve, we love the fact that people are offering up assistance with sales. They get a sales team, some referrals.
Most of our initial sales were just that people are happy that the solution exists and do relationships and networking, but it's time to really go hard. But no, absolutely, we would love to engage with Abbott Labs. We just don't have the bandwidth to reach out to everyone just yet, but yeah, we would love to talk to Abbott.
That's why y'all need a couple of full-time inside salespeople just to do that. So definitely. So I am waiting just another minute for Anonymous to tell me. Yeah, Anonymous came in and asked, what are the employee benefits?
Medical, dental, vision. We have unlimited time off. There's no cap on personal time off. Within reason and within, obviously coordinating with your management. We do. From time to time, when the company's doing well, we get a big contract, we may do spontaneous, small gift cards and things like that, to make sure our employees are rewarded.
Okay.
You know, we're very family sort of environment. You know,
Mhm.
everyone comes and goes. People have kids. You know, if they need to take time off, there's no stress about that at all.
That sounds like a good startup tech package to me. You didn't mention stock options, but that's okay.
Well, we do have stock options for depending on the level, depending on your level.
Mhm.
As a part of it.
Anonymous is also asking, last question. Since time in the space and growth are the requirements for influencing usage of media, and it will take years, is there an exit strategy that could result in an early sale? What is your long-term plan?
Um, we're not looking to, all options are on the table, first of all. We've had several companies come to us to talk about acquisition. But our long-term play is really to go public. That's where we're leaning towards. Keeping all options on the table, but we're squarely aimed towards building $1 billion valuation and going public.
I love that. And you also said earlier that you want to retain 51% Black ownership for that generational legacy as well, because so many Black companies start off Black and then they get to $1 billion status and then they're sold off. So I think Eddie was anonymous. I think that that they are trying to do something that is a lot more generational. Gerald is asking, I'm impressed with your platform and the depth of your content. I'm working on a SaaS project and would like to connect. How might I contact you?
Steve at POCStock, is this being recorded live?
It is being recorded. It's just for
Can we
our
put it in the
members.
chat?
So you can put it in the chat if you want to, or, it's just for our members. So
Sure. Steve at POCStock.com and Deshaun at POCStock.com.
perfect. Well, I will see if there's any more questions over the next couple of minutes. I think that this has been a great session that we've had here. Definitely, Talisha has been putting in the 10kproject.com/POCStock. We're asking that you use that URL, use that link, share this campaign with your family, friends, anybody that you think would be interested in something like this. They also have the need for salespeople. If you are in a business, you work for a corporation that needs this type of service, then, definitely connecting Deshaun and Steve with those employers would be great as well. We want to do our part in helping them get to $1 billion valuation and publicly traded. We do encourage you to do your own research with regards to this. I'm sure that Deshaun and Steve would approve of that message. Check them out, check out their website, their social media, all the things that they're doing. Read through their campaign page. Look through the Q&A that they have, ask additional questions if you have them. And don't forget that you could also give the gift of equity to your family, your friends, your children, things like that. So this could potentially be a gift of equity that you want to give to somebody. Rain is asking, you mentioned stock options and IPO. Will you be offering dividends on shares owned before you reach your exit?
Quite frankly, that's a little far down the line. We discussed it, but we haven't settled on any final response. As we settle on a final, we'll definitely let all of our shareholders know which way we're going. We have 2 rounds of investors, one from our Series Seed, and now a group of investors in our Series Seed CF round. And before we get to our Series A, we're looking to figure that out. So it is a great question, and we are discussing it. We just haven't settled on what the best strategy Because as you see, we invest in our contributors, we invest in making sure our customers have a good solution, but we also invest in our investors, right? We want active investors, so we want to make sure that they're well rewarded throughout this process. So that is something we're actively exploring.
That is great. Okay, then. Well, Anonymous is asking, what is the buy-in? What is the investment amount?
You have to go to our campaign page. It's all there. We can't discuss the offer. But go to our campaign page. It's been posted in the comments, and minimum buy-in is there.
Yeah. And Gerald is saying, Black Unicorns, I'm running with you guys. So very, very excited. So all righty then. Yes. So definitely check out the campaign page, get all the details there, look through it, do your research, and ask your questions on the campaign page if you have additional questions for Steve and Deshawn. This will be up tomorrow morning on the Knowledge Center, as well as in your email. So if you need to listen to the replay for whatever reason, you can feel free to do that. And don't forget to share their campaign with your family, your friends, on your social media, etc. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for being with us tonight. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And we will see everybody next Monday. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.